Morning, friends. Indirect Tax Committee, PSD Chamber of Commerce, welcome each one of you for this important webinar on recent changes in GST law and legal jurisprudence. So, without taking much time, let me start. I'm going to make theme presentation that what we are going to discuss today. There are so many changes we have seen recently in GST law, and we have seen number of judgment divergent perspective. So we are going to discuss each of the component, 3-hour webinar, 5 learned speakers going to talk about different topic. So I'm sure you all going to be benefited in terms of all recent changes. What are those changes and implication on our business day in, day out? In my theme presentation, I divided into 5 category, 5 bucket. I'm going to discuss first what are the important. I'm just going to highlight important one. Detailed presentation to be made by all learned speaker. First category would be important change pertaining to outward supply. Second, on input tax credit. Third, on registration, GST registration, lot many fake registration, fake credit, and there was special all India drive. So we are going to discuss what all changes are being made in GST law pertaining to registration. Fourth, there is important changes even in GST compliances when we talk about GSTR 1, 2B, and 3B. And last, I'm going to discuss some of the important changes under miscellaneous category. And then what are some of the judgment which I will highlight for each one of you, which would be talking about important legal jurisprudence. So let me start with, just give me a minute only. Let me start my theme presentation first on outward supply. Under section 10, subsection 1, clause CA got introduced under IGST Act, and it is now notified from 1st of October 2023. What did this change? When we do B2C supply over the counter, we have seen generally what we follow. We invoice to the customer who are not registered as intra-state. But GST is a destination-based consumption tax. It must accrue to the destination and consuming state. Keeping this context in mind, clause CA got introduced under section 10, subsection 1 of IGST Act. Now, supplier need to mention name and address of the recipient while raising the invoice to the customer. And just to recall, there's Rule 46 sub-rule E of CGST Rule 2017 already there, that if taxable value of supply is more than 50,000, then supplier must furnish name, address, and state code of the recipient state, so that the chargeability, if any customer coming from Maharashtra to Delhi and Delhi supplier raising invoice B2C over the counter, value is more than 50,000, then quite obvious as per these changes, as per the rule which was there, now 10(1) CA got introduced under IGST Act effective from 1st October 2023. It is IGST cell. So that SGST component of IGST must accrue to the state of Maharashtra. First part. Second, As a supplier, we are filing GSTR1 and GSTR3B. GSTR1 is outward supply and our outward supply liability, corresponding liability. Sometime when we are filing one, we did some mistake. Let's say liability was only 1 lakh rupees, but by mistake, unintentional, it is shown as a 10 lakh rupees. Quite obvious, when you are making payment through 3B, you are going to pay only 1 lakh rupees. So there would be difference in GSTR1 versus GSTR3B. What is now going to happen? Wake up call. Rule 88C got introduced from 26 December 2022. And what this rule is saying, now you will get notice in Part A, DRC 01B from the department for difference of liability in 1 versus 3B, Part A, Rule 88C. Now you need to reply back. Either you pay the differential amount, which is coming from 1 versus 3B, or you should reply back, and that time period specified is only 7 days, Part B of DRC 01B. So it is worth noticing. And further, Rule 142B again got notified from 4th of August 2023. And as per this rule, if there is difference, and this difference is neither paid by you, and nor you have replied in Part B of DRC 01B, as stated in Rule 88C, then department can initiate recovery proceedings. Why DRC 01D? Please be careful. And this recovery can be made under Section 79 of CGST Act, even without issuance of so-called notice, either under Section 73, non-fraud case, or Section 74, fraud case. So this is alarming provision for all of us together. Otherwise, you have to keep in your mind, which is very important. Sometimes there is clerical mistake, genuine mistake we have done. It was not intentional. Then you should not require to worry about. But you should reply back within 7 days once you get notice in Part A of DRC 01B. And those who are habitual offender, they used to file one with the higher amount to pass on the credit to the recipient, and paying lower taxes like 1 lakh through 3B, for them it is alarming. And it is self-assessment tax, believe me, under Section 75, subsection 12, explanation. And that can be recovered even without issuance of so-called notice. Wake up call for all of us together. So those who are habitual offender must stop, otherwise recovery proceedings. If you are making a genuine mistake, window is open for you to reply back. Otherwise, also under Sections 37, any rectification for any omission or error can be done till 30th November. So that period is also open to you. This is pertaining to outward supply. Coming back to GST input tax credit, second category. I'm discussing only important one. Detailed presentation will follow by the technical speaker and expert. In ITC, we are finding many disputes coming out. We started with the 4 conditions, right? Having tax invoice, recipient and buyer having tax invoice, receive goods and services, supplier must have paid taxes, and as a recipient, you are filing your return under Section 39. 5th condition got introduced that credit availed in 3B must be matched with GSTR2B. And 6th condition is there specified restriction, and 6 restriction got specified under Section 38 effective from 1st of October 2022. But what is the change? Rule 88D got notified from 4th of August 2023. And what is this Rule 88D? If credit availed in 3B is not matching with GSTR 2B, then you will get the notice. Part A, DRC 01C, you will get the notice. And you need to reply back within 7 days. So there are two options. Either you pay the differential amount, 2B versus 3B, or you should reply back within 7 days. If you are not replying back, then demand proceedings going to be initiated under section 73 and 74. So law is getting strengthened day by day. So it is wake up call, and we have to be careful about whenever you get notice, and if you have made mistake, then you must reply back. That is what important to adhere. And these webinars are going to give you hand-holding what all day in, day out activities need to be compliant with. Having said that, one important laudable one. Under section 50, subsection 3, you are aware that if you avail the credit, wrongly avail the credit, and not utilized, then no interest going to be charged. We all are aware, and that too with retrospective date, July 1, 2017. So there were certain issues for this. A circular number 192 dated 17 July 2023 got issued, and what it is saying, let's say you have availed wrong IGST credit, wrongly availed, and utilized for the reason because there is an order of utilization. First, you need to exhaust your IGST credit. Thereby, you have utilized this wrongly availed IGST credit. But at the same time, you are having enough balance, sum total of IGST credit, CGST credit, and SGST credit. It's much more higher than the amount utilized. Then this supplier, this taxable person was saying to the government, see, my sum total is always higher than the amount utilized. This is as good as I have not utilized wrongly availed credit. Hence, no interest leviable. And secondly, if I'm utilizing IGST credit, which is wrongly availed, it is because of order of utilization, which is being prescribed. So intentionally, I'm not utilizing. And secondly, I'm having enough balance lying to my e-credit ledger, sum total of IGST, CGST, and SGST. Then no interest should be leviable. It is now being clarified, no interest. No interest. There may be a case you have availed a wrong CGST credit and utilized. Then you can look at the balance of IGST and CGST should be much higher than the amount utilized. There may be a case wrong SGST credit availed and utilized. Then you should look at sum total of IGST and SGST. So this is what we have to know and we have to keep in our mind. Having said that, just one more clarity. If credit wrongly availed and utilized, and your sum total is lesser than to that extent of amount utilized from date of utilization, interest is leviable and rate of interest going to be 18% per annum. That too retrospectively from July 1, 2017. This is a bucket on GST input tax credit. Coming back to registration. We have seen a lot many fake registration in GST regime. There was special drive also, All India special drive. There are certain changes made in the law, which is worth noticing now. Rule 10A. Now, there would be compulsorily furnishing of bank account details within 30 days from the date of registration granted or date of furnishing GSTR1 or through invoice furnishing facility, whichever is earlier. And why government is intending that you should furnish your bank account details? Quite obvious, you may have opened more than one account. And in more than one account, you may be receiving money which is not accounted for. So government is intending you should furnish your bank account details. And thereby they would be catch holding whether all receipt which is coming in a bank account, it's correspondingly mentioned in your liability, GSTR1 and 3B. And even income tax, you must be aware of that they are also capturing these data. So day by day, we are moving towards organized sector, which is worthwhile, appreciated, laudable one. We have to done away, we have to remove all unscrupulous person from our ecosystem. If you're a proprietorship firm, you need to now link your PAN card with the Aadhaar card also. This is the need of Rule 10A. Subsequently, amendment is also made in Rule 21A. They are saying if you're not furnishing bank account details within specified time, there would be automatic system-based suspension of GST registration. Automatic system-based. Once you submit the details, which is required as per Rule 10A, then there would be automatic system-based revocation also. Rule 21A. Next amendment they have made in Rule 9, read with Rule 25. And now they are saying, now it is not compulsorily to have presence of a registered person or the applicant who is applying for GST registration. His physical presence is not required. Whenever department is coming for verification, physical verification in high risk cases. So they have done away the Delhi High Court judgment and they have made corresponding amendment in the rule. No compulsorily presence of that registered person or applicant. So you have to be careful where you are taking registration, that must exist. And this provision is only envisaged to detect who are non-existent. So this is change pertaining to registration. Coming back to the compliances, we have seen in GST many non-compliances on the part of supplier. And because of non-compliances by the supplier, it's creating problem hurdles for the recipient to avail credit. Sometimes supplier is filing one, but not paying the tax through 3B. Sometimes filing one, but he is not furnishing proper details like B2B as a B2B, correct GST number, correct place of supply. Sometimes he is paying the tax through 3B, but not filing one. Many challenges for the recipient, and now credit need to be matched with GST at 2B. So if supplier is non-compliant, then credit it gets impacted in the hands of recipient. And you must be knowing two-way communication, which was existing, is being omitted from 1st October 2022. We all are aware of. Now, having said that, what all changes are being made in the GST law worth noticing? We have to really know all these changes. First, Rule 59, Sub-Rule 6. There are 4 important changes. You cannot file GSTR1. Listen very carefully. You cannot file GSTR1 if you have not filed GSTR3B for your preceding tax period. So if at all for September you want to file GSTR1, you need to ensure that for August month you have filed your GSTR3B and paid the taxes. Second, Rule 88C, which I have already referred, is not complied with. 1 versus 3B differences. You're getting notice part A DRC 01B. If you have not paid the taxes or replied within 7 days, maybe a region your GSTR 1 going to be blocked for subsequent tax period. Next, rule 88D, difference of credit in 3B versus 2B. You will get notice DRC 01C. You need to pay difference or reply. If you don't do, then your GSTR 1 going to be blocked for subsequent tax period. Rule 10A changes like non-furnishing of bank account details within specified time period may be the region. Your GSTR 1 going to be blocked for subsequent tax period. So wake up call. And this one is being filed. Second, 75 subsection 12 explanation. I've said that while filing one, you need to be careful about. If there is a genuine mistake, you can always reply back. But those who are habitual offender, always having difference of 1 versus 3B, for them alarming call. 1 versus 3B, difference is going to be self-assessment tax. And that can be recovered without issuance of so-called notice under Rule 142B, read with Rule 88C, as referred under Section 75, subsection 12, explanation. 37. If you want to file your GSTR 1 for the current tax period, you need to ensure you have filed your GSTR 1 for the preceding tax period. Quite obvious, those who were not filing GSTR 1 was not getting auto-populated in 2A, 2B of the recipient. So this is going to be done away with. Second change, which is under Section 37, time limit is now being prescribed for 3 years for belated GSTR 1 return filing. 3 years from the due date of furnishing, maximum 3 years time period prescribed for filing belated GSTR 1 for the past period. And this change is coming from Finance Act 2023, effective from 1st of October 2023. Coming back to 39. If you want to file 3B for the current tax period, you need to ensure you're first filing GSTR 1. And these changes from 1st October 2022. What is new change from 1st October 2023? That 3 years time limit now for belated 3B, belated 3B. But you have to keep in mind time limit condition of Section 16, subsection 4. Just because you can file your belated 3B does not mean that you can avail credit in contravention of Section 16, subsection 4. So it is really wake up, an important one. Section 44, annual return, including self-certified reconciliation statement 9 and 9C. 9A for the composition dealer, 9B for the e-commerce operator. Time limit prescribed 3 years for the belated 9, 9A, 9B, and 9C from the due date of furnishing such return. Please keep these deadline in your mind for the compliances in GST law. Having said, I am now touching a miscellaneous provision, important one. And quickly, I will take 10 minutes to summarize my presentation. The first change. GTA, Goods Transport Agency, having option either to follow forward charge or reverse charge. So they have to opt for it. And time period prescribed was 15th March in the preceding financial year. Now that would be 31st March. And this window gets open from 1st January of preceding financial year. Second important change, once you opt for a particular method, let's say forward charge, it will continue till the time you want to change your method. So you need not require to make a declaration on year basis unless you change your option. Second, director. we are always debating and having confusion. I do not know for what region, but let me clarify once again. If any remuneration paid to the director in the capacity of director providing services to a body corporate or company, then that is subject to RCM in the hands of body corporate or company by notification number 13/2017. So what is not under reverse charge? First, if director is employed as a employee, even though designated as a director, whole-time director, but he's drawing salary, and salary is subject to deduction of TDS under section 192, then no reverse charge. Second, if director is providing certain services which is not in the capacity of director, and prominent example could be director is letting out his commercial property to the body corporate or to the company, commercial property letting out. That is not in the capacity of director. So that is not subject to RCM. It is under forward charge method. And that is what director has to look at his aggregate turnover for getting registration and raising invoice to the company with GST. So more than 20 lakh rupees registration is required. Third, when you go to a cinema hall now and you buy certain food and beverages, GST going to be levied at the rate of 5% with no ITC as a restaurant services. You have to only keep in mind if such cinema hall is raising a ticket including food and beverages and not bifurcated separately, then that is going to be composite supply. So if it is more than 100 rupees per ticket, then 18% GST. So this caution is there. It needs to be bifurcated, or separately you're purchasing food and beverages in a cinema hall, 5% with no ITC, and it is clarified by circular number 201, both director and this food and beverages 201 dated 1st August 2023. Fourth one, the important and much talked about horse race, casino, and online gaming. Online gaming, the bifurcation of game of chance versus game of skill is being done away with. 28% GST. Corresponding amendment is being made in CGST and IGST by CGST Amendment Bill and IGST Amendment Bill 2023, effective from 1st October 2023, as stated in 51st GST Council meeting, and that too on full face value. So I'm not discussing much, leaving it for the speaker to talk about. But this is much talked about in recent time. What happened for the online gaming? What happened? Online gaming is situated outside India and providing services to the consumer who are not registered. What happened to that? What would be the valuation when we look at casino and online gaming? What happened for the crypto, Bitcoin? Lot many things. So I'm leaving it to the speaker to talk about. Going further, there was amnesty scheme prescribed for non-filer of GSTR 4, 9, 10, and revocation of cancelled GST registration. And then base judgment order under section 62 of CGST Act. Time period is extended to 31st August 2023. Having said, the next change, which is important one, that exemption not to file, exemption from filing of GSTR 9 annual return. So no need to file 9. If you are a registered person and your aggregate turnover up to 2 crore for financial year 22-23, and due date is 31st December 2023. Having said, the next change, which is important one, ISD versus cross charge. A circular number 199, worth reading. Kindly run through. This circular is clarifying following conditions. there are certain, point which is very, very important. When ISD going to be applicable? Input service distributor, which is meant for third-party services received by HO for the recipient unit. So for the past period, there was dispute that some person has taken ISD registration, some person has not taken ISD registration, but raising invoice as a supplier of service. This is being clarified when you need to have ISD registration. So whenever you're procuring third-party services, let's say at HO, which is meant for your recipient unit for different distinct person, then ISD registration is being referred. Cross-charge in terms of entry to Schedule 1, supply of services between distinct person, HO to branch or branch to HO, and dispute was what would be the valuation. Second proviso of Rule 28, clearly talking about if recipient is entitled for full ITC, then supplier can pick up any value and that would be deemed open market value. And dispute watch, which was envisaged, dispute watch, the salary need to be included for all the CEO, CFO. This circular has clarified for application of second proviso of Rule 28. Now you need not require to worry. Whatever value picked up by supplier would be deemed open market value and no need to include salary cost. Even there's no need to include salary cost, the recipient is not entitled for full ITC, then second proviso of Rule 28 is not applicable. You have to bear in your mind. And clarified by circular number 199. Another thing which got clarified, holding of shares of subsidiary company by holding company is not a supply. Circular number 196. Next, they have clarified, and which is important one, for no reversal of ITC for spare parts and components used for in-warranty services, circular number 195. So there are these important changes. Last component, legal jurisprudence, many judgment. And I'm sure speakers are going to touch base. I'm just going to highlight 3 judgments and then sum up my presentation. First, importance of time limit to avail credit as per section 16, subsection 4. Prior to 1st October 2022, provision was earliest of due date of furnishing 3B for the month of September, which is 20th October, following the end of relevant financial year, or date of furnishing annual return. This due date of furnishing return under section 39(3)(b) got replaced by 30th November from 1st October 2022. A recent AP High Court judgment in the case of Thirumalakonda Plywood, they have said the provision under section 16 subsection 4 is not violative of Article 14, 19(1)(g) and Article 300 capital A. And it is not contradictory when we look at section 16 subsection 2 starting with non-obstante clause. Second judgment coming from Patna High Court, Asta Enterprises, section 16 subsection 2 clause C. If supplier fails to pay the tax even after collecting the tax from the recipient, from the buyer, from the purchasing dealer, credit would be denied to the purchasing dealer. This is important judgment and hue and cry in a market. It says double penalty on recipient, purchasing dealer. You have paid the amount to the supplier and your credit is being denied. Section 16 subsection 2 clause C, but it has got many angles to look at. You need to look at section 41 subsection 2. You have to look at rule 37A, many things. Just I'm giving food for thought. And the last, adherence of time limit to file appeal. Sometime, appeal, under section 107, 3 months plus 1 month condonation maximum. And if we fail to adhere the time limit, then believe me that the Patna High Court judgment in the case of Biswanath Traders, and they have said if you have failed, then you will not be able to file appeal. You will not be able to, when This matter went up to the Supreme Court, Honorable Supreme Court. Supreme Court has upheld the Patna High Court judgment. So you need to prove either there are 2-point alternative remedy, right? Alternative remedy. Whether alternative remedy is really a bar, to my mind, is not a bar, provided you prove that there's a violation of fundamental right, principle of natural justice, excess jurisdiction, or bias of the law is being challenged. Or you could not file appeal because your portal was not accepting. There's some problem for which you have communicated. You have got communication document in your hand. So we have to look at fact of each of the case to determine. But having said, I've taken extended time period, but now leaving it my theme presentation here and requesting Mr. Nanda to take it forward, but thanking each one of you, all the participants taking out your time and joining today's webinar on important and recent changes in GST law and legal jurisprudence. Thank you very much.